Okay, so I'm ready to do my monochromatic watercolor value scale. Monochromatic means one color. So I'm going to be creating with red, I've got some red paint out here, I'm going to be creating where it's dark red, which these are going to be mixed with a little bit of black, and then it's going to get lighter and lighter and lighter red. Okay, so I'm going to do this in a combination of layers and then a combination of adding black to make a shade of red. So I'm going to start by, and I'm testing it out on another sheet of paper, a very thin layer of red that's going to cover everything except that last one. I'm going to keep this very thin because we're going to do lots of layers. Okay, and then we're going to need to let that dry. Okay, so we're going to paint a second layer. Remember to keep it thin, lots of water, no layers, one layer, and then everything back here needs 2 layers. Try to keep it all even. There's a glare right there. That's what that is. And we'll let that dry. Okay. No layers, 1 layer, 2 layers. So this and everything back needs 3 layers. So I'm going to start here with the 3rd layer. And let that dry. Okay, so now I'm going to need to make a shade of red. So I need some more red paint, but I'm also going to need black. So before I go into my black, I'm going to clean off my brush. And I'm going to go get a little bit of black. Now this black is very powerful, so I don't need very much, and I'm going to mix that in with my red. Kind of becomes this burgundy shade. Okay, so no layers, 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layers. Now here we're going to start building with the shade. So let's do a layer of this darker color on the last 2. And let it dry. And then the last one, we're going to do a second layer of the shade of red. So now we have our graduated value scale going from the lightest red to the darkest red. And we did this, guys, with a combination of layers and with a combination of mixing in black to make shades. Now, we're going to try to put this one last one on a cylinder. So let's draw our cylinder. And again, we're going to try to make the light source come from, that is crooked. make the light source come from the left, okay? So again, you might have to pause and come back to it if you're trying to do layers, but we're definitely cleaning our brush, getting out the red we need. And getting out the black we need for later. So again, I want a lot of water. If I'm going to make those really light layers, I can always test it out to see what it's going to be like. If I don't like how this is, if it's got too much pigment, maybe I can quickly dilute that with some more water. And then I'm going to come back with another layer. Okay? So brush ready for another layer. If I wanted to blend it, maybe I could use some water right there to dilute it. Maybe at this point I want to start to add the black, so I have just the tiniest bit of black here to my red. You see how that turns it to that maroon color, burgundy kind of color. Maybe some diluted with water there if I needed to. And then maybe I want a really light value of red for the entire top. So then what we are left with is 8 or 7 different methods to show value. We have pencil, where we were blending with pressure and layers. We have some pen and ink techniques, the scribble and the hatch and the cross hatch and the stippling, where the way we spaced out our lines or our dots determined how dark or how light the value was. And then we were working with watercolor, with layers, working with layers and working with the balance between the pigment of the paint and the water, how much of each one of those there was. Here, when we did a color, we did layers, but then we also added black to make shades. So again, when we did cylinders, we were always considering our light source and making the side where the light source is the lighter values, and making the side opposite the light source darker with our darker values. Now remember, this is a grade, so when you have all of this done, you will upload it into Canvas and get a grade.